Good morning. We are live on the Falcons Podcast. It is the Monday morning after a disastrous Atlanta Falcons trip to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers, where they, pun probably intended, where they laid an egg. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We're working on some technical issues. Nick is in hotel. He has made it to Denver as part of his move from Seattle, part of the way across the country as we try and get him closer to becoming a Southerner one day. Nick, how are you doing? I know you had a busy week. You doing okay?
I am very tired, but I think the hard part is mostly over. I do have to find myself a freaking job. Job market is not good right now. I did move to Seattle without a job, and then 4 days after moving there, I got hired. So hoping that'll be the case. Maybe a little slower. I did have like an unbelievable amount of PTO occurred at my job because Washington, you get 3 months paternal leave. So I didn't use any vacation last year. And a lot of time during the pandemic, I was working winters and weekends because we had a smaller team. So I had a lot of comp time built up. So therefore, I have a lot of PTO that I'm still using right now.
Well, enjoy it.
Find a job.
Yeah, enjoy it. And then, take as much time as you want off. And then you can double dip a little bit.
Yeah.
So we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and now Tuesdays and Thursday evenings because we like having the conversation with y'all. And I know you have a lot to get off your chest. So we want to get to some of the things we're going to get into today. What happened? Besides the fact that we do use the term falconing as a verb, adjective, and noun in these parts, besides the standard falconing, what happened with this team yesterday? And Nick, we've been doing this 5 years together now, and we haven't seen a winning season since we've been doing this. It's been 7-10, 7-10, 7-10, 8-9, and now 1-2. We haven't seen a winning season yet. This was arguably the worst performance. It might not have been the worst because the defense actually played pretty well. Mm-hmm. Overall, the defense played pretty well. So maybe not overall the worst performance, but to do almost a complete 180 from the week before against Minnesota. All the things that worked, you didn't do against the Minnesota Vikings. The special teams were crap. They go away from the running game. Where was Charlie Warner after 86%? You know how many percentile of snaps after they ran the ball down the throats of the Minnesota Vikings? Do you know what percentage of snaps Charlie Warner had yesterday?
16.
21%. 21%. He was 86% against the Vikings, 21%. Now, unless he was hurt, that's a coaching problem. And then they just didn't say much about it. That's a coaching problem. Personnel problem. The getting the ball in and getting the playoff at the buzzer every single time, that's bad. You get up to the line of scrimmage with 10 seconds left, you take a look around, and all of a sudden you're snapping the ball with 1 or 2 seconds left. That's bad. But we do want to say hello to some folks to let you get some stuff off your chest. And we're going to hit our supers first because, they're super and they're supporting the show like this. So we'd be remiss not to take care of them first. I hope you understand. Evan comes in. He says, if this isn't a fireable offense, I don't know what is. I think this staff has made several in the last 2 to 3 years. Could be my confirmation bias because I think they should have been gone last year, but still, thanks for all you do. Evan, thanks for all you do for supporting the show. Now, this is just the 20th game. Yeah, the 20th game of this regime, and they're 9-11. So it's 1+ years, and fortunately or unfortunately, you're not going to fire a coach this quickly unless it's just completely off the rails or something happens. We've seen it once in our tenure, Nick. Nate Hackett was fired at like the end of his first season because it was so bad. Completely lost the locker room. The discipline was out the window, getting blown out. That he was fired, but you don't fire a head coach after 1+ years typically. No. Now, y'all know I'm a big international soccer fan, and I say forget the sport itself. Whether you like soccer or don't like soccer is kind of irrelevant. The way they handle the processes of things is fascinating. If this was the English Premier League, Raheem Morris would have been fired today. If it was his first season, he would have been fired today. And those are the kind of things that make the league kind of crazy and fun. But Raheem Morris isn't going to get canned. Zach Robinson's not going to get canned. So we don't need to talk about that as happening here until we get closer to the end of the season to see what happens over the course of the next 3 months.
Yeah, no, it was horrific. I know that after that first game, I'm like, I'm not really buying, still not totally in on Raheem Morris, and got a little pushback from the chat. It was close loss to the Buccaneers, who are now 3-0. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like this team has very much direction, identity. I did think the defense played admirably, but yeah, a horrific game, and probably the worst game I can remember, Scott, since I think it was a Thursday night game with Mariota in Carolina as well. That one was Panthers at Carolina. That one was
at Panthers.
Yakety sacks as well. Horrible.
Yeah, that was the one where he fell on his back, and it turned into a meme of him trying to throw as he hit the ground, and he's like completely flat on his back. Yeah, and it's Penix had his worst game of the year, and again, just the same with Ritter, the same with Mariota. I'm not always going to say it was. I'm going to say it was bad quarterback play, because there's some things in there where the players have to be comfortable in what they're doing too, and it's not always just that the quarterback was terrible. Everything around them could have been bad. That said, and I want to get to the next super here from Dwan, the offensive line didn't play poorly. He wasn't necessarily under pressure, except when there was pressure being brought. And if they're going to bring 7 guys against 6 blockers, that's a quarterback wide receiver job to beat that. If I've got 5 guys blocking and they're blocking 5 guys and someone else gets pressure, that's on the quarterback. That's on the wide receivers to beat that blitz. That's not on the offensive line. I thought the offensive line played fairly well. Let's get to Dewan here. Dewan says, good morning, Scott. Near last in scoring. Yes, 31st. They are now 31st. Do you know where they are in total offense? In total offense, they are still 13th. So they are moving the ball between the 30s, missing field goals. Again, it's the Falcons. I mean, you get a guy on a practice squad, goes 5 for 5. You sign him to a contract, he misses his first 2. Now, to be fair, they were 49 and 55. Those aren't gimmies, but you would like to have seen one of those go through. Nick, I went out on a windy day while my son was at soccer practice, and I took a ball with me. And the soccer balls are light. I couldn't kick it into the net from 20 yards out. Couldn't make it. The wind would get it, and it would just shear off. I couldn't do it in the air. I could, roll it in. I turned around and went to the other side, and I turned into freaking David Beckham. Boom, just nailing him in. That first kick, it hit, and it looked like the wind caught it, and it just sailed off wide right. And the next one, he overcorrects and misses it to the left. It started bad and it got worse yesterday. It did. They're horrible in the red zone. That hasn't changed. We have to work the middle of the field at some point. We schemed the Vikings, but can these coaches win chess matches consistently? I have doubt. Still, rise up. Parity, and someone put it in X in one of my replies, parity does not suit this team well. The well-coached, well-prepared, mistake-free teams, parity is good for them. They're going to win more close games than they're going to lose. That's never been the Atlanta Falcons' MO. It just hasn't. And parity, this does not feel like a team that is good on the margins, Nick, when it comes to clock management, when it comes to special teams, when it comes to the little things. And then if you have a day like you did yesterday, you're going to get killed.
Yeah, I will use a little bit of positivity here, Scott. A lot of the key perimeters in a football game are not so one-sided that match the score outcome. Now, the score is what matters at the end of the day. But when you look at across the board, I mean, the Falcons, they were better in first downs on the day, 17 for 15. Third down efficiency, they were better. They had 11 more total plays. They had over 100 more yards than the Panthers. So, I mean, they took less sacks than the Panthers. Now, granted, you lose the turnover battle by 2. You're missing field goals.
And really it was 1 when the game was over.
Yeah.
So, you're not taking advantage of that in the red zone scoring, and you're missing field goals. Nick, they have that series where, again, they get to delay a game out of a timeout. If I watch a high school game and that happens, I'm pissed. Oh, it looks like Nick just may have gotten rid of us. I'll take this. If I watch a high school game and a team gets a delay of game, even a false start or something, gets a penalty out of a timeout, I'm mad.
Yeah.
To see a team get a delay of game out of a timeout because you were about to get a delay of game, dude, that's inexcusable. It is inexcusable. Well, his headset went out. Was it out on the sidelines when you should have called the play and run out there and run it during the timeout? It's inexcusable. It is absolutely inexcusable. That is, I won't even say it's like it's sophomoric. It's Pop Warner level kind of things.
Yeah.
Like I said, Nick, if I saw a high school team do that, I would be pissed. I would say they are poorly coached at the high school level, let alone at the NFL. To see it twice? Come on, man.
Yeah, not good enough. And I think obviously we're all piling on Raheem Morris right now, as we should be, understandably. But really, probably, I think you mentioned already, the worst game we've seen from Michael Penix. Now, the sample size is small, but something we talked about coming out when you drafted him, everything is the accuracy was a little hit or miss. And it hadn't really been the decision-making being so poor. Well, today, the accuracy was as bad as we've seen it, and the decision-making was definitely as bad as we've seen it, and it led to some, horrific turnovers and just outright open misses in the game, and that's a big loss. I mean, that's a big reason. So hopefully, we did see Kirk Cousins come in. Hopefully that's it. I did see that Penix is still a starter, protecting him, getting him out there, reeling in this one. We'll see what next week brings, but man, what a disheartening game considering what we saw week one. And it is a week-to-week league, small sample size. But he's probably not as good as we saw week one, but also not as bad as we saw this week.
No, and the thing is, Nick, there's a comfort level in here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you comfortable? Are you making the right reads? Are you standing in there? This play that I just put up there, this is the end zone look of the interception that basically ended the game. I had just posted out there. It's 10-0. Defense played valiantly considering the kind of position they put in. To finish my thought on that whole series and sequence with the delay of game, the Panthers fumbled the ensuing punt. And, that's the first turnover on the game. That's a turning point. And they couldn't take advantage of it, end up not going forward. I don't remember if that was the second missed field goal or not, but they came away with obviously 0 because they didn't score any points the whole game. So that's easy to remember. But here's a 4-man rush. Everybody's dropping in the zone. Off to the right side of the screen, there's 4 guys in the route, and Bijan out to the left side. Pitts is running an out route. London on the right side's in a dig, or in a little button hook. Now you've got this the back third cornerback on the left side where Michael Penix is looking. He's terrified right now. He's got 2 guys, one coming on a corner route, and that's Darnell Mooney out of the slot. And then you've got Ray coming on a dig. That ball should be out right now. I don't even care which one you pick. Pick one. The easy shot, that is as easy a throw as a left-handed quarterback's going to make to Ray McLeod right there. Now, you might say, okay, that I don't know if that's Derek Brown, but pushing. But if he even, just slides a quarter step to his right to even open up that passing lane or whatnot. But the very next frame, he throws the ball left to Bijan. Of the 5 options he's got, that was obviously the worst one, but to not check it, that's a rookie mistake. You can talk about that all you want. Oh, that's a mistake. You got to check. My bigger concern is, why isn't this ball coming out now to Ray on the dig route? That's what he's not seeing. And that's where he's not comfortable. That's where he's not comfortable in this offense, doesn't trust this offense, doesn't trust his eyes. And again, I'm not saying, this is all on Michael Penix, because he was uncomfortable the whole game. That's on coaching as well. And we've seen him be able to make these type of throws. So just wanted to highlight that was just the number one example of things that are just not working right now. That's an easy pitch and catch for him to Ray coming on that dig route, Nick.
Yeah, not confident, not playing inspired football, and he should be hitting that back of his drop there and firing that one in there. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, sometimes it's just that day in the office. This has not been, obviously, it's still a small sample size, but an outlier game, all things considered. So we'll see what next week brings for him. I'd be willing to, kind of flush this one and not panic too much, as far as the decision making and some of the lack of confidence, I guess. The one that's a pattern right now is the accuracy and missing on throws when things are clean. I mean, the footwork, everything to me looks pretty good, and just outright missing. I think
he was 64% coming in, I think.
Yeah.
And trying to force the ball maybe a little bit, because his targets, Darnell Mooney, in the first time he looked healthy, 4 catches on 11 targets.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yuck. And then Ray was 2 catches on 5 targets. So between 2 of those guys, that's 16 targets. That's half your throws. 6 catches. That's 38%. That's obviously not going to get it done. And Mike coming in, good to see you, Mike. Hope you're doing okay. He says the difference between Kirby Smart and Raheem Morris, the final drive, Kirby Smart would have been fighting to break the shutout. Morris didn't even try. It's embarrassing. He called a timeout with the clock running down. There's lots of differences between Kirby Smart and Raheem Morris. Now, I was thinking about this the last 24-ish hours, however, since the game ended. And, Raheem Morris is an everything is awesome type of coach. Of the great NFL coaches, who's had a similar personality? Now, to be fair, most coaches that have reached that level are arrogant asses, period. So that is by far, they are egotistical, egomaniacal, arrogant a-holes. That's by far the type of personality that has excelled in this. But I start thinking of the great coaches, Nick, and most of them are pretty hard-ass dictators. You go Bill Belichick, even back to Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells. What's it with the Bills? Maybe you need a Bill here. Bill. Is Andy Reid the closest of these guys that is, and I don't even think of him as being a yuck it up type of guy.
The one
Don Shula.
In the chat, somebody already got it, but I immediately think of Pete Carroll. Chomp on
Pete Carroll, okay, yeah, he's had a lot of success. That's a great example. Thank you. Great example. So let me highlight that, because I was like, I'm not thinking of him. But Earl,
Earl,
great example. Pete Carroll is one of those guys. And he has done. And Pete's been successful at both levels. He was obviously successful at USC, and he was successful up at Seattle as well. Great shout, Earl. So, and again, there aren't that many of those guys. They end up being coordinators. They end up being position coaches. Your hype man. I just don't know. You saw him yesterday. He was stern faced. He was upset about it and kind of snapping at the press, And I thought the question, the way Josh Kendall worded it, was interesting. Will you give Kirk Cousins a chance to compete for the starting position? No. Okay. I mean, we know that, but, and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not going away from Michael Penix. I've said this, all their eggs, no pun intended on this one, are in the Michael Penix basket. That happened last year when they benched Kirk Cousins. But shouldn't you at least give the idea that every position there's competition every week for every position and nothing is written in stone? I don't know. Am I crazy on that?
No. I mean, if he has another stinker game or there's multiple in a row, you still have Kirk Cousins here. It's something that you'd have to think about just for the sake of the locker room, right? But this is, again, just one bad game, and there's still belief in Penix. So it's way too early. If we're talking about 4 games of this in a row, 5 games of this in a row, or as somebody in the chat said, he's taken a lot of hits so far, and, he starts to get some sort of, nickel is the word we'll use. It's like, maybe we'll go with Penix for a bit. Just give him a breather, reset.
And
that's
don't
something.
Get me wrong. Yeah.
You never really want to have to do that. Like that's might be an indicator that you don't have the guy, but it is an option to have. But we are so far away from that, despite how bad this game was.
Absolutely. And for me, and again, doing this stuff live, you don't always say exactly what you mean to say when you're doing it live. So let me elaborate then. For Raheem Morris, Michael Penix is our quarterback. We have all the confidence in the world for him. He is our starter. He is the franchise. Kirk Cousins is the backup. Okay, I get it. So it's just, again, doing things live, we'll give the benefit of the doubt. And I'm sure today he'll elaborate on that if someone asks him to. And He'll say something closer to that, a little bit more diplomatic instead of the heat of the moment. So I'm not going to overreact to that, but it did come out and it didn't sound great. And speaking of not sounding great, Lance is coming in with a super chat. Thank you, Lance. He says, Morris said we hit an all-time low post-game. It's week 3. He's in 20 games. The remark didn't inspire confidence. Didn't like Penix benching either. He's a young quarterback. Play through it. And there's a lot not to like. And again, you're biased by what just happened because you're already in a bad mood. So anything that he's going to say, you're going to probably not going to like.
No.
But the answer of, we want to keep him out of harm's way, I'm tired of watching him protect these guys in the preseason, keep them out of harm's way. Let's put some of these guys in harm's way. Maybe they'll react better when someone is trying to do them harm.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like that quote, Nick. Didn't like it.
No, I get it. Trying to protect him all the same. And he's probably pretty fragile coming out of this game. So we'll see. I'm willing, as critical as I was, last week and even the week 1 game where not too high, not too low, tried to be as even keel as possible. I'm willing to give them somewhat of a pass on this game just for how ugly it was, but not compared to the overall sample. It's still a incompetent product overall. And the overall trends that we've seen over the last 2 years do not inspire confidence. But overall, I understand protecting the quarterback and being highly emotional after getting embarrassed. Let's just call it as it is. Embarrassed. And now 0-2 in the division. Any chance? I mean, the season's obviously not over, but chance to win the NFC South, you have to change a lot here and things that after you're well behind.
You're 2.5 games behind after 3, and the Buccaneers have pulled out 3 by the hair of their chinny chin chin in all 3 weeks. And that's the difference. We talk about fine margins. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers are 3-0 in games that they're 1 play away from being 0-3. They're 3 plays away from being 0-3. Mm-hmm. And they're 3-0.
That's the league, man. Yeah.
You got a quarterback with some experience,
mm-hmm.
and that matters. And Bowles has been there a while. That matters. So, yes, I understand protecting him, but, hey, the game was out of hand. We wanted Kirk Cousins to knock some rust off. He didn't play in the preseason. So it wasn't a great press conference from Raheem. No, Michael Penix is our quarterback. We pulled him. We wanted to knock some rust off of Kirk, get him out there, get him some reps. The game was out of hand. Okay. I got that. We don't have a quarterback controversy in Atlanta. Oh, okay. Again, I try and be a little sympathetic to standing up there with the cameras in your face. And it's not really a hostile crowd. It's a nice crowd. We've said that before. That's what pissed me off so much about Arthur Smith. Quit treating this press room like they're like crap. They're as soft and easy a press room as you're ever going to see. So it was like that. Speaking of bad press days, oh my God, is Matt Millen bad? Oh my God. And I'm not talking like bias. I think Jonathan Vilma's gotten better, but Jonathan Vilma was tough to listen to for a while as the ex-Saint coming right out of the field to calling Falcons games. Millen was just bad.
He's been bad. Haven't had listened to him in the Big Ten game
about and stuff. He was just. It's like, is this the first time you've watched either of these teams? He was. It was tough to watch and listen to him do it. It was bad. Trenton, one of our members. Thank you, Trenton, for being a member and for the super chat, because I'm going to get to a couple of them from you here. Says the entire fan base penciled in a W. They beat us last. Yeah, Trent, it doesn't matter what we do and say. We're not the ones winning games or losing games and playing games. It's up to the coaching staff and the players to build a culture that can survive. And someone in the comments afterwards said this is an absolutely a trap game. Yes, it is. This absolutely was a trap game. Big win, going on the road to Carolina, who hadn't led in a game all season and seems to beat you once every year. It absolutely was a trap game. That was a good call, and I agreed with you last week. If you're watching, good shout. But still, this is a team that if you're going to be anything that you think you're going to be, you need to beat. You need to win this game. They need to be 2-1 right now, going to a banged up Washington team who is now 2-1 and won with Marcus Mariota as their quarterback.
Yeah, it's doesn't feel very good right now, Scott. But I know that I penciled this in as a W after beating the Vikings. And do you see what the Vikings did this week too? I mean, gosh, what a crazy...
Carson Wentz. The NFL's just weird, man. And then they go, the Vikings couldn't get out of a wet paper sack last week, and then they hang 50 on the Bengals.
Yeah, insane. So that's one reason not to overreact too much to one game. And that's one reason I will say we are going to find out a lot about this team over the next 3-game stretch. You play the Commanders, you play the Bills, you play the undefeated 49ers. So it could be rough, but one game at a time, of course, as well. The thing that I find perplexing in this one, and I see a couple people in the chat have commented on it as well, Penix is obviously swimming in this one. I feel like this is a game now. I know it kind of got out of hand early, but you might have to force it just to kind of protect him.
It didn't get out of hand early, Nick.
Well, I mean,
it's 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt...
And you stopped them on their first drive of the third quarter. Yeah. You've got the ball, 13 minutes left in the second half, 10-0. It didn't get out of hand early.
Well, my big concern is only 13 touches for Bijan, 1 for Algier, Nathan Carter with 7. I mean, what are we... Not touches, rushes, because we did have some pass, not total touches. But if Penix is swimming like this, I know that the strength of that Panthers defense is the defensive line. I don't care. Give him some body blows, give some jabs, give Penix a chance to hand the ball off, just less reps, because obviously this is a game where he didn't have it. So I don't know why when you have a Ferrari in the backfield that you can lean on for these exact moments on the road where your young quarterback is struggling, you should be spamming that. And maybe it's going to end up in a punt, but it's going to give your quarterback a chance to at least reset. So I don't really understand that at all.
Or maybe it will be working and you go away from it anyway. Do you know what you mentioned the carries? It was 14 carries between the two of them. Last season, they had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing. Tyler had, I don't remember how many carries, but I think he had 105 yards and a touchdown. And then I think Bijan had 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Algier had 1 carry. He had 1 carry. The team went 14 rushes. Okay, well, they're shutting down the run. They got behind early. They had to throw. No, they didn't. It was 10-0, and you've got the ball. That is still game plan. That is still run the ball. They came out in this series slinging the ball all over the place. They came out in the first series, and they moved the ball down the field, missed a field goal. They did. And because the first thing I tweeted out there was like Darnell and Drake are healthy. They weren't last week. It's obvious. They're throwing the ball to Darnell and Drake the whole way down the line. They started this game like, we need to get Michael Penix going. That's how they started the game, which is okay. But again, you're only down 10. You still have plenty of time to run the ball. 14 carries, 76 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. That's running the ball successfully, Nick, with a long of 17. So it's not like it was 13 for 1 yard and then they broke one off for 75 yards. The Panthers didn't stop the run. Falcons stopped the run. And Trenton, he says, people should temper their expectations. Oh, that's been taken care of. That's been done. The Falcons tempered expectations. And as Mike says, he was just talking about the schedule with Nick, Washington, Buffalo, and San Francisco coming up. Oh, my God, they could be 1-5. Could be 1-5. You're going to be underdogs in those 3 games. You're going to be underdogs in each of those 3 games. Well, you were an underdog on the road and won. You were almost a 6-point favorite on the road in Carolina and got blown out. Who are you? You're a running team first. And Nick, the lack of downfield passing still bothers me. It still bothers me. Put this up last week. And it was a little better this time. It was a little bit better this time as far as where the passes went, but not much. There was 1 pass completion of 20 yards, and there was none. That was the only one over 15. So Penix had 1 pass completion over 15 yards. And the money route, the route that we judge arm strength on is that 15 to 20 yard out. You can see by the white passes, 0 for 5 over there. 4 on the right side was probably Mooney over there because he couldn't hit Mooney for nothing. It wasn't all Mooney. And then 1 to the left side, 0 for 5 on those passes that should be your money routes with a howitzer type of arm. Everything else, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 completions that went past 10 yards. And one of those was the final play of the game, was that little seam route that ended the half. Ended the half on that one. That was it. They're not pushing the ball downfield at all with a guy whose biggest weapon is pushing the ball downfield.
Yeah. It's something we talked about with this team a bit too, Scott. I don't know if you have a true burner. Now Mooney can be that guy, but he's been missing it. I would like some schemed up shots maybe to Kyle Pitts down the field. Just let your guys who are the above the rim basketball players get them some shots. It can be
max protection.
Yeah. Pass
underthrow them.
Yeah. Yeah. Just give them a chance in that as well. But yeah, not good enough in this one. They're going to be sent back to the drawing board after getting outright embarrassed. But the big one for me is just the run game was efficient on this one. I mean, just the overall stats for the rushing, 5.7 yards per attempt, and you walk out with 23 rush attempts, 131 yards. With how bad Penix was playing, you should have had at least 35 rushes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that the interceptions and everything and just the offense being leaving points on the field with missed field goals, et cetera, is hard, but it felt like pretty early on, Penix does not have it. What can we do to make this easier for him?
Right.
And they just didn't hit that button. When you have Bijan freaking Robinson, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I agree. The Panthers didn't necessarily stop the Falcons. The Falcons stopped themselves from what was working. Credit to what the Panthers did was they crowded the line of scrimmage, took away the underneath stuff, and said, "Go ahead, try and go over the top." And it's like, well, I don't know if they've got that guy. That being what I do as far as, what I really like doing, which is building, constructing teams and all that kind of stuff, playing, fantasy GM, that pisses me off about as much as anything. You've used 2 top 10 picks on receivers and a top 10 pick on a quarterback, and you can't get behind anybody in the passing game. Oh, that makes me mad. If that's the case, and you don't necessarily need, like you said, Nick, you can scheme up deep shots. You don't necessarily need to have 4.2 speed to get deep. Most of 4.2 guys can't catch worth a damn anyway. Does Mike Evans get deep? Yeah, he does. Did David Moore get deep on a rud route on 3rd down? Yeah, he did. So those aren't coming in. And then again, you've got a 2-on-1 situation with a dig in a corner on one defensive back, and you check down and throw it to the side. There's a lot broken here on this offense. Mopar Nokar says Penix wouldn't scramble if he was eggs. I understand some of that. When you lose 4 years to 4 different injuries, his meal ticket is his left arm, but it's got to be better. He's got to get better at reading the defenses, and that comes with time with the receivers and the offensive coordinator. Again, I'm not blaming this. Oh, this is all Michael Penix. He's no good. No. There's lots of dirty hands in that game yesterday for sure. And thank you for the super chat, my friend. Trenton coming in again. He says, I posted we'd be 1-7 a month and a half ago. Maybe not. I would be to lose. What would that be in 6 straight? 8 games, you were 1-1. To lose 6 straight is highly improbable, but 10-7 looks like a pipe dream right now. I tell you that, Nick.
Yeah, and also that first round pick is looking like it could be pretty high that the Rams are having. Now, one thing Falcons fans can feel good about, this looks like to be a pretty underwhelming NFL draft class coming up this year at the top. It's not going to be that 2021 class that was laden with superstars. It looks pretty darn lean at the top. So if that makes you feel any better,
good.
And Pierce looks good. And I did want to actually shift Scott to the defense overall. I thought there was some highlights in this one on the defense, still all the same. I did think, Pierce still flashed the defense, their ability to clamp down the run in this one against what I think is a pretty darn good Panthers offensive line. And I thought that Alford played admirably in this one. I know that we're kind of, tough on D out there, but I thought, considering the circumstances, I wanted to give him just a small shout out because a lot of times you like to bury him, and I don't want to, just do that. I don't want to be that person. So shout out to D Alford.
He played okay.
Game. Yeah, okay game.
No,
okay.
The defense wasn't why this game was lost by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Now, we went through last week, and again, if I'm critical, I want to watch and then not just, be a hater. And for week 1, the special teams were god awful. F. Week 2, I gave them an A. They were an A. The return game, the coverage, 5 for 5 on kicks. Bradley Pinion did well. Yesterday, special teams was an F again. It was an F. I have to look it up. Garrett Chapman, it was in the story we did, where the Falcons started the ball after every possession was under the 25-yard line. That's unheard of this day and age. About the average starting position is about the 35 off kickoffs now. Falcons were giving up. There's 60 yards that are just poof, gone. You had a 115-yard difference in total yards. We lost it all in special teams. And only the Falcons could watch a touchback and have that called back because of a false start and give the guy a second chance and pin him at the 10. Oh, we got a 5-yard penalty. Let's give him another chance. And you didn't have a choice. I was listening to the game at the time, and they didn't get that right on the radio. They're like, no, you take this penalty. Well, you didn't have a choice. You're not allowed to take that penalty. Millen screwed it up too, to be fair. You take this penalty. Well, you decline this penalty and take the touchback. You can't. It was a false start. It's dead ball. Mm-hmm. And Rusty, I'm sorry, dude. He says, I spent almost $400 to attend that monstrosity yesterday, and y'all wonder why I'm so pessimistic. No, we don't. I don't wonder at all. For real, this coaching staff ain't it. Fire everyone. And Rusty, it's not going to happen this week, but if it continues the way it did yesterday, they won't be here next year. They won't be. And I'm not calling for anybody's heads yet because I know it's not going to happen. Yeah. And if they turn it around, they still have a chance. They still are going to get the opportunity to turn it around. Like I said, if this was Chelsea, if this was my team, they would have fired the coach today. That's the way soccer works. Managers are replaceable at the snap of a finger. Mm-hmm. But right now, this is the track that you are on, Rusty, is a game like that, 1-2, you're looking at another losing season, and you've underachieved again from preseason expectations. That is the track that they're on. It is now a downward pointing arrow after what looked so promising last week. And we knew the Minnesota Vikings weren't 100%. We knew that. But you went in and dominated them in ways that we don't normally see teams dominate, and then you get away from it. Run the ball, man. Run it until you can't run it.
Yeah,
make your field goals. Nick. Special teams.
Yeah. It's frustrating. I know last week you didn't want to hear from me saying Romo went 5 for 5, but man,
you just weren't giving him any credit. I wasn't talking about anointing him as I didn't feel like you were given enough credit for that day.
Yeah,
I wasn't talking about moving forward.
That
that was an amazing performance for what he did. Now, as you said, let's do it again.
Yeah, and some of the kicks were getting better and better as the game went on, but they were margins. The first two,
and they were makeable kicks. It was all about pressure. They were all 30 to 40 yarders or under 45 yarders, and then he comes out there in a 49 yarder into the win, and then a 55 yarder into the win, and you could see the ball moving on him.
Yeah,
it's just the difference in this game and the last game was they ran the ball, played good defense, and played good special teams. This week, they didn't run the ball, played crap special teams. Well, and that was pretty much it.
But my point, Scott, was I'm not out on Romo either. But
no, I'm not either.
Critical last week just because, the first 2 field goals, I was waiting to watch the refs to see if it actually went in or not. This one, not great, but he had a bad game. Wind was bad. It's kickers. When you're getting beat 30-0, even though your kicker missed multiple field goals, he's down the list of issues in the game, especially with the weather being the way it is. And I come back to the main point here from earlier, Scott. This is a bad game. 30-0. There's not a lot of good to come out of this one. I'm having a hard time even plucking too much other than the run game, where I feel good about the game. I thought the offensive line was okay in this one too, but it is just one game, and you find out a lot about the mental toughness of the players, how much the coaching staff has the ear of these players early on, because if a team doesn't believe in itself and you're getting beat like this, you come out next week and you get clobbered. Now, hopefully they have a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, pride in their product on the field and still have hope and everything. But we're going to find out a lot about their resolve and mental fortitude next week in this next 3-game stretch, because it could be easy to have this season and this iteration of the Falcons snowball and just be a forgettable memory here coming up here pretty soon. But it is one game, and you're coming off of a butt whipping, we'll call it that, of the Vikings the week before. So again, just what does the broader sample size say? This was a bad one, but it can be in the rearview mirror very fast with a good game next week. And that's certainly possible. You have the talent to have that happen.
Beat Washington, which again, as Chris says, we watched Minnesota get themselves off the mat and go just pummel the Bengals. Now, the Bengals aren't very good. That's all right. The Vikings weren't very good either. And Chris says, yesterday was the revenge of the worst teams. The Browns beat the Packers too. I think the Packers were 1 or 2 on some of the power rankings last week after what they've done, and then they lose to the Browns. The NFL is weird. It is weird. It's just, unfortunately, the parity of the weird does not favor the Falcons, who are not historically a well-run organization, and they end up losing in the margins. And again, I can point back to several moments over the course, the 5 years that we've been doing this. The very first game we watched, I think it was against the Eagles, and the Eagles were coming off a really bad season also. They weren't the juggernaut that they were turning themselves into that year. And they came to Atlanta and just dominated Arthur Smith's team, just dominated. I'm like, oh my God. The Falcons just got obliterated in the trenches. Obliterated. I don't know how they're going to win a game against this. They got pummeled by this bad Philadelphia Eagles team. Well, they scraped together 7 wins out of the next 16 games. Not great. See the Falcons go 6-3. Huge win over the Buccaneers. They got this thing wrapped up and then just turn around and lay an egg again. So, yes, this is bad. It can turn around. And no, they're not going to fire anybody in this week, next week, even during the bye week. It's not going to happen. They're going to get a chance to turn it around. If they don't, then there will be changes made. But right now, it certainly does not look promising. Trent says you can't replace all pros with rookies and expect more wins. Be real. Like who? Grady Jarrett wasn't playing like an all-pro. Who am I forgetting then?
Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons had been an all-pro, but he didn't play very well last year. He's still not playing.
I don't think so.
I don't think Justin Simmons has even been signed anywhere. And he might before the season's over, but I don't think Justin Simmons is even playing. AJ Terrell was a second team, but that was, I don't think that's what you mean. Grady Jarrett hasn't played like an all-pro in several years. Caleb McGarry, he's another guy that was out. And again, it wasn't necessarily on the offensive line. I don't think Kirk Cousins was an all-pro, and he certainly didn't play like an all-pro last year. But Trenton, I think it was fair to expect more wins this year than last year. Not expect might not be the right word, but and you still can. Again, it's 3 games. Season's not over.
No.
As bad as things felt and as bad as they looked yesterday, what's scary to Falcons fans is that they know that they have this in them at any given week. There's never been the I won't say never, but rarely the consistency of excellence. More often than not, you have a good game followed by one of these. And it's like, okay, when these show up, you were so bad. Carolina didn't play great. If Carolina was a good team, I think I'd text, might have even been you, Nick, in the beginning at the half. If Carolina was a good team, it would have been 28-0 at halftime. Carolina didn't play great. The Falcons played terribly. The good news is that's in their control to play better. We've seen it. The bad news is we know they've got that in their locker to go out there and play like that.
Yeah. I guess the positive is that we have not seen Penix play like that before, and you'll have Mooney hopefully be a game healthier, Drake London a game healthier, and going back and seeing the film, I'm sure everybody's going to be kicking themselves that they didn't lean on the run game more than they did when it was obvious that the passing game didn't have it in that one. So hopefully learning experience. It sucks to be embarrassed like that. Luckily, it was a morning slot game down the card, if you will. So I don't know if you're not going to get much national embarrassment other than people scrolling by like, oh my God, the Panthers beat the Falcons.
What the hell happened to the Falcons?
Yeah, like what happened here? I'm not going to watch that one. But we got DeJuan coming in, says they went after a rookie nickel and we attacked the cornerback one. Comical. D. Alford was decent. Yeah, Bowman did not have a good game following the good game against the Vikings. Again, in rookie, I'm willing to give a pass, think about the overall sample and see if we're week 8 and he's continuously getting picked on, we need to have a conversation, but we're just not there right now. So again, it was an ugly game. This is one as a fan base. I think you flush it and you move on. I don't know if there's much to learn from it other than you need to lean on the run game when you can. And you have that ability to do that with the offensive line and the running backs that you have. It doesn't have to be the Michael Penix show, which this one, for some reason, kind of leaned into it when he didn't have it.
Yeah, and that's like I said, that's how it started. They came out throwing the ball. Okay, that's fine, but if it doesn't work, adjust. Adjust on that. Again, 10-0 at halftime. You've got the ball. You stop them coming out of the half. You've still got plenty of time to run the ball, and they never really stopped the run. And DeJuan, the game plan was poor. It was poor, and then the execution was poor. Everything was poor. Thought the defense played pretty well. They were in there 2-4. We gave that a lot of crap last year. But, again, they crowd the line of scrimmage a little bit more, and the Panthers don't run the ball that well. Now, they had some success running against looks that the Falcons gave them that you want to attack with the run. But overall, they didn't run the ball up and down on the Falcons. The offense kept putting the defense in bad positions. Most teams are going to score. It happens. There aren't very many shutouts out there. You hold a team to 10 points in the first half, you're in the game. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, their defense outscored the Falcons offense on there. Call to action real quick for those of you on YouTube, and there's over 200 of you right now. In the description, we have offered memberships to the Falcons podcast. So would love for you to join. There's 2 tiers on this. And click on there, and I will be offering, probably starting next week, maybe even this week, some members-only videos where I just do instant reactions to news and stuff that comes out, hot takes or whatnot, where then you can come in and comment. It's just us. It'll end up just being for members only. And at the end of this month, I'm going to put everybody's name in a digital hat, so to speak, and I'm going to send the winner a 24-ounce bag of Lion coffee. It's a $32 value, just as a thank you to our members. The Perch members, which is a higher tier point, will get 3 tickets, and the Nest members will get 1. And everybody in there, and they'll pull one out. So it would mean a lot if you would become a member and support the show, just like the Super Chatters have done today, another way to support the show. And thank you so much. I know Trenton is one of our members as well. So we're about to get out of here. Nick, any final thoughts? I feel like you kind of gave them just a minute ago with the listen, it's one game, it can turn around. It's the NFL.
Yep.
Any given Sunday, right?
You beat the pants off the Vikings team, who beat the pants off the Bengals this week after getting your pants beat off by the Carolina Panthers. Right now, you are what your record says you are. You're 1-2, a team that looks like they're going to be probably closer to picking in the top 10 to 12 versus being a playoff team. But with that said, the real good teams, you're not going to be this team come week 12. Good teams develop and grow over the course, and you look back and be like, oh my gosh, who we were, that first 3 weeks, look at where we're at now. We've had these young players emerge. Penix is playing good. We found some different levers we can pull. So again, not to be totally cliche on it, but it is about in the course of a season, it's about the journey and how much growth you can have. So this is a bad one, and it can be a fork in the road moment for this squad. So hopefully you see a little bit of, not a little bit, a lot of growth, and they can just flush this one and move on. And we're feeling a lot better after a tough game next week at Washington. I know they play the
No,
Commanders.
Washington. The Falcons have been on the road 2 weeks in a row, so they host the Commanders, who have beaten the Falcons. We've been doing this our 5th season together, Nick. They've played Washington all 4 years in the quirk of schedules that we've been doing this. 0-4. The Commanders have won all 4 of those games, and frankly, last year was probably the only year that they were actually the better team.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, this season they're 0-0 against them, so we'll see what happens. Jaden Daniels didn't play last week, and maybe it's a Mariota revenge game. We'll find out, but I do need to fly, Scott, because I need coffee like I need air right now before the next show. But we will see about Wednesday. I might not be in the hotel anymore. Lord only knows. But yeah, guys, I know it's a really ugly game and it stinks. I guess the one positive is from personal experience, I'd rather be embarrassed and have the emotion taken out of it than be crushed by a last second field goal. So I got to go hop over and hang out with the Broncos fans who are going to be pointing fingers at everybody. For this
they're not happy either. Yeah, they're not happy either. Harbaugh seems to have Peyton's number right now.
He really does, not just right now, in general. Like he's like 7-1 versus Peyton or something. So yeah, it's
appreciate you being here. Glad you could work out and have a good show with the Broncos. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Peace, guys.
All right, I want to hit some of the other comments on here. Maurice, I saw talking about getting some Lion coffee. They've been good to the show, powered the show. Clay's a little mad, and I can understand that for sure. Everybody should be a little mad after yesterday. And what I always say is anger is better than apathetic. Apathetic is like, I don't even care anymore. But under 300 total yards for Carolina. Shoot, it was like under 250. I think they had like 223. I can find it here pretty quick. Scores, NFL scores. I think they had 223 yards of total offense. But that might have been when I looked early in the game and then stopped looking. Where the hell is the game? Falcons. Panthers, team stats. It was 224 yards of total offense. The Falcons are still number 2 in the NFL after 3 games in total yards. They slipped down in points because they gave up 30, but that wasn't all on the defense, was it? No, it was not. It was not. Was not all on the defense, so that's kind of not fair. But I thought they did. I thought the defense was good, and my assumption that they would kind of pick up where they left off last season for this offense, well, that's made an ass out of me for sure. I don't know about you, as far as the assume part of that goes, because the offense has regressed in a big way. And for all of the resources that are pumped into this offense to be that bad it's going to cost some people their jobs if it doesn't get going. Typically, a head coach can sacrifice his coordinators one time, but usually you have to do it at the same time. You don't get 2 years where I do one coordinator 1 year and one coordinator the next, and 2 years that I've been bad. But Zach's got to get it together. And we've said before at the beginning of the season, this will probably be Zach Robinson's last year in Atlanta. One way or the other, 2 years is about as long as an offensive coordinator lasts, because either if they're good, they get hired away for a head coach somewhere. If they're bad, they get fired in their second year. So I don't think you'll have to worry about seeing Zach Robinson next year regardless. But as far, Jimmy, good to see you, Jimmy, over on Facebook. He says the defense was gas. They played solid. Yeah, the defense was good. They drove down on their first drive and got 7 after a missed field goal. Okay, again, other teams score points. It happens. But then they only got 3 after that for the rest of the half. And then they got a huge stop coming out of halftime. And I posted, we're about to find out what this team's made of, down 10-0, playing like crap, and coming out at half. 2 plays later, it was 17-0. It was pretty bad. Raheem said, Jimmy again, he says, Raheem said it perfectly. We just got out-coached, outplayed. It was out everything. It was poor. It was poor. Shane, let me see what you had to say. He said, we had Alfred in half the game against the Vikings. The difference is if you're playing from behind, you can't send the defense out and spread 4-man, 2-4 fronts playing from behind. Well, and then the Falcons started going for it. Once they were down 17, their next drive, they went for it on 4th and 4 on their side of the field. So they basically stopped punting at that point, and they weren't scoring points, so they weren't kicking off either. So they were given short fields the whole time. The Panthers were getting the ball in the Falcons half after the Falcons would try and go for it on downs. And, that's when games get out of hand, and you don't give up many yards. So I thought it was, a solid effort from the defense, to the point where I'm not pointing fingers at the defense for why this game was lost by any stretch of the imagination. There's lots of blame to go around, pointing fingers in Flowery Branch. I think I wrote at the end, I put edited it into an article yesterday. It's going to be some soul searching going on. The thing that scares you is, how does it get better on offense? Last year you could see how bad the defense was playing overall. And there were even when the Falcons were 6-3, there were some scary indicators from that defense. 10 sacks in 11 games, no pressure whatsoever. A good quarterback's going to kill you. There were some scary indicators, but Raheem Morris has made a living as a defensive coordinator. Now, you can argue how good or bad, but there is an internal, if not fix, at least option. Where is that right now in Atlanta? This is Zach Robinson's offense. If Zach Robinson doesn't get it right, can they get it right? That's concerning to me for sure on there. Slim Robinson says, good luck versus my Bills. That's coming up, Slim. Good to see you. Hope you were doing well. Appreciate you stopping in. Where is that game? It's versus Bills. So your host, the next two games are at home. Commanders on 9/28 and Bills. There's a break in there. So Commanders, break, Bills. No chance that anything, I won't say no chance, 1%, 1/10 of 1% chance there's any major moves during the break, no matter what happens this weekend. What I'm hoping is, and I said this last week, again, this isn't inside information. This is just looking at the schedule and watching a skill player grab the back of his leg, that AJ Terrell will probably miss this game too, because then you've got another break off to get him fully healthy. So that's when I'm hoping that AJ Terrell comes back 100% and they don't push him in this game against the Commanders. I'd rather him not play and lose than play and aggravate this thing and get those voodoo hamstrings that can linger and show up like show up like a bad party guest. I could use other kind of worse terms to do that, but I don't want to. And hopefully he's back full strength. Maybe Storm Norton comes back pretty soon after that. I think he's got to be out 4 games. Storm Norton comes back, adds a little more depth to the offensive line. And then just with some time, Penix hasn't thrown to Mooney much live at all. This is probably the first game. What was he? 4 catches on 11 targets. Move that up to 8 catches on 11 targets, and all of a sudden some of those third downs are being converted. That will come with time. Penix has to get more comfortable out there. Hopefully that comes with time. He's got to get more comfortable with his receivers. Hopefully that comes with time. Those are the kind of things you are looking at. On that note, Shane says, how many first-rounders do you need on one team to be a good team? Either those are wasted first-round picks and the GM is terrible, or the coach is not putting him in position to succeed. And the GM got the benefit of the doubt after the first time when Arthur Smith was fired. He will not get the benefit of the doubt a second time. And if this goes down the drain, I think they clean house after this year. But there are a lot of first-round picks. And not just first-round picks, there are a lot of high first-round picks. As far as, he got Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Yeah, you're not supposed to be drafting in the top 10 every single year. Getting a good player in the top 10 does not impress me. So you're not supposed to be there. 5 years of not having a winning season, that would be the end of my general manager. No matter what you think of Terry, it's a results business. If you think it's not all his fault or none of it's his fault, it's a results business. And I think there would be changes after 5 straight years of a losing season. But we'll see. We will see. There is still plenty of time for this to turn around, get back to the basics. You've got a defense. You've got a running game. Those are two of the hardest things to come. Those should win you games. Now, the special teams cannot be horrible. They were cheeks again yesterday. That has to get better. And I don't know how much that's going to get better either. So those are the big concerns. My big concerns is, can Zach Robinson fix this? Because he's the only option you got. And the special teams are still horrible. Those are my two big concerns. On that note, I am going to get out of here. JB says I'm tired. I get it. I do. It was a bad sporting weekend for sure on that one. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Keith says his heart was broken. Well, maybe they can mend it this week. Getting a win. We'll see if Jaden Daniels plays. It's looking like they are leaning towards playing Jaden Daniels, but Marcus Mariota coming back to the Dome sure would be fun. That would be an interesting storyline for sure. It would be fun. Become a member. Would love for you to, JB, Chris, Keith, Terry Clark, Garrett Jackson, all y'all would like to invite you to become a member of the Falcons podcast. It would mean a lot. Help support what we do. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Garrett will be back tomorrow, 6:00, right here on this channel. And then I will be back probably with Nick while he's still moving and trying to get settled into Denver as he's moved from Seattle on Wednesday. But we'll be here Wednesday for sure. Hit us up with any comments and we will get right to them. Hope you all have a better rest of your day. It's still a gorgeous early fall day out there. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time.